Okay, everyone, thank you so much for being patient with us. We are ready to get started. We're going to take a deeper dive here through your accounts and give you all the tools necessary to understand basically how to navigate your account, set up some campaigns, and get some optimizations going once your campaigns are running. To give you a little bit of background, my name is Rob. I'm a success manager here at Taboola, and one of my primary tasks is ultimately to work with clients like you directly to make sure that you feel comfortable and prepared to run and manage campaigns on your own. Now, in my day-to-day, I work with over 300 clients of all company sizes and business models, each with a different primary goal with running on Taboola and each finding their own success for running on our network. Now, ultimately, I hope you leave today with the proper tools at your disposal to run and manage these campaigns, knowing that you are set up for success. A couple notes about the presentation today. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation, but feel free to use the questions drop-down box in your GoToWebinar control panel to submit your questions at any time through the session, and we'll address them at the end. You'll receive a follow-up after this session with a full recording should you need to reference this material again. But of course, as you run your campaigns, you have 24/7 support available at support@taboola.com, and you can also find any other information pertaining to your account in our advertiser help center, which is also found by typing in help.taboola.com. Now, today we plan on covering the basics, essentially what is Taboola, how can you find success on our network. We'll go over how to access and navigate your account, tracking opportunities available to you, creating and targeting your campaigns, and lastly, we'll take a look at how to review your performance and insights. Firstly, what is Taboola? Taboola is a discovery platform that will help you reach new clients by surfacing information that they may like but never knew existed. Now, on search, you'll find intent. On social, there's going to be referral. But what about users that don't know how to look for you yet? Well, that's where we come in. Taboola's discovery algorithm reaches users when they're in the exploration phase, and it's for this reason that Taboola is a great resource for exposing new users to your content and also bringing previous users back around to your site. Let's get started with accessing your account here. So first, if you haven't yet, please navigate to backstage.taboola.com. This is our login portal. You can also find this by going to taboola.com directly and clicking on the login icon found in the top right corner. You're going to be logging in with the email address you used to create the account. And once you log in, you should see a page similar to this. Now, please note this graph already has data in it, so if you have not built or run a campaign just yet, you will not see anything here. Rather, you'll see a blank page. We're going to look at a few things today within your account. Namely, we're going to start with the billing management cycle. Then we're going to go into campaign management. We're also going to take a look at your Taboola Pixel. Quick glance at billing here. We have two facets. You have billing management and payment history found within these particular categories. With billing management, you can add, replace, or remove your credit card and see your last billing date. And from the payment history, you can see recent records and export data. Now, if your account is ever frozen, often saying due to unavailable or non-existent credit, double check that the credit card on file is working or is entered correctly. When you add a new card, there will be a short period of time for the system to automatically attempt to charge the card. So if you add a new card or correct any discrepancies from your bank and the account still remains frozen, still just give it some time and it should work very shortly after. Now that the billing is discussed here, let's dive further into campaign management and the Taboola Pixel. Ultimately, you have four major aspects of your account that will help you manage, organize, and optimize your campaigns. We're going to start actually looking at these in reverse order, starting first with the Taboola Pixel. This is where you will go to obtain the universal pixel code, define your conversions, and create customized audiences. Your campaign management page we'll look at next. This is where you perform the bulk of your tasks. You go here to start new campaigns or edit existing ones. You go here to edit your campaign inventory, your targeting capabilities, and your bidding and budget for each campaign as well. Once we're ready to dive into some optimizations, we're going to start with the top campaign content, which will allow you to see the performance of each individual campaign item. And then lastly, we're going to look at the campaign summary, where you can go find your insights. And we strive for transparency, so we're going to give you many different ways to organize and analyze your data. Now, keep in mind one thing here is that we will be going over the new pixel, also called the Taboola pixel. Some of you may not have access to this pixel just yet, as it is a new feature. We are rolling it out to all of our existing clients as well. So if you don't, please note that the old pixel still does work, and you can find tools on how to use that within the Advertiser Help Center. But for today, we're going to teach you how to utilize the new universal pixel. So let's dive right in here. We're going to go into the pixel management side of things. What is this Taboola pixel? Well, this is a snippet of code that you can place on your website to perform specific tasks, like tracking multiple actions, identifying a user's path through your site, and also building customized audiences for targeting down the line. When you land on the primary page, you're going to see initially a blank field. It'll say no items to display in the table. And there's going to be a dark blue box in the top right corner that says Create Pixel. You want to click on this button, and you'll be taken immediately to this page. This pixel is identified specifically for your account. So ultimately, what you want to do now is take this pixel, copy and paste it exactly as it is, and place it in the header of every single page of your website, ideally between the head and post head of your HTML code. Once you have the pixel placed, you're ready to go into your account and start defining where exactly you want to track conversions and build these custom audiences. For the conversion side of things, you have options. First, we'll take a look at URL conversions. You can define these conversions based on particular words found within URL strings or by entering specific URLs entirely. If you would like, you can also define multiple conditions within a URL. Some examples would include users who get to a thank you page or series of blog posts with the same URL condition, for example, a politics blog versus a lifestyle blog. Defining multiple actions will also be really helpful for you down the line to not only track where users are traveling through your network, but we can also find out exactly where they're falling out of a potential conversion funnel or how many pages they might be viewing in a particular channel. We also have conversions by event. So when you build a new conversion, you can choose an event, and ultimately this will just require an additional snippet of code. Essentially, you add this to the tracking section, or rather below the header of the HTML code here. If you have an inline event, you simply add this additional snippet at the relevant HTML portion. Other examples would include when users add items to the cart or purchases. And you can also track items with a specific dynamic order ID. Now, we've pre-selected some popular events for you to make it a little easier to parse through. But of course, if you would like, you can also define a custom conversion. And again, we'll generate a snippet of code that you're able to take back to your website, place on the page, and ultimately use to track whichever action you really need. Like the conversions, you can also define custom audiences, and these are specifically used for retargeting. Essentially, you can build users based on where they've gone to your site, and then we can bring them back around. For a product that might be e-commerce focused, this is a great idea. Ultimately, longer price point items, longer funnel decisions, anything that takes a longer process for the customer to consider, retargeting is going to be an invaluable asset for you to utilize. So you want to start defining multiple custom audiences for you to use. Just like the conversion conditions, you can operate by URL or by event. And again, with that event, you will just need to add the additional pixel to the particular page you're trying to collect that user from. We will look at in just a little bit how to actually utilize this audience once you have created it. One other thing to consider, again, I'm going to touch on e-commerce really quickly. Our retargeting capabilities make it very easy to run an abandoned cart campaign. Essentially, we can find users who've gone to the add to cart page and then suppress out anybody who has subsequently converted, essentially targeting anyone who has started but has not completed the conversion funnel. But now that we have the pixel placed on your site and you're ready to start defining where the actions are going, where these clicks are operating in your platform, we can now look into how we create and target these campaigns. So we're going to go to the campaign management page now. It's the second item that we were looking at. You'll see a couple items found on this page. First, you have options on the top left to sort by various campaigns. Examples include previously rejected campaigns, campaigns that have expired or have gone past their end date. You can also look at pending campaigns to see where your creatives are in the process of getting online. And then to the far right-hand side, there's a series of icons that we're going to be looking at throughout this process. The pause or play button allows you to start or resume a campaign at any time at your discretion. The pencil icon will take you to all of your tracking opportunities. This is where you go and define your bidding and budget, the audience you want to target, and the time frame that you plan to operate on. The third icon in looks like a list. This is where you go to edit your campaign inventory, known to many also as advertisements. And then lastly, the duplicate page icon will allow you to simply duplicate the campaign as is, so you can save some time if you're trying to run the same campaign to various different audiences. We'll start by looking at the new campaign button up here in the top left corner. When you click on it, it's going to take you to the campaign properties page. Note that this is also the page that you'll see when you click on that pencil icon I showed you on the page before. We're going to go through step by step here and look at each of these items. Starting first with the name. The campaign name will not be published, but be specific here because it is for best housekeeping. As you start to grow more and more campaigns, it can get easy to get lost in the amount of activity you want to be running on our platform. And so this will just help keep everything organized. Regarding your branding text, this is one to take special note of. The branding text will be published with your headline. For most users, you might just want to put the landing website name or the name of the brand you are going to. Be mindful that you don't want to also include the brand name in the headline when we get to that point. Now, more branding text guidelines can be found in our Advertiser Help Center. There are a couple products that you might want to consider reviewing those documents. As far as the marketing objective goes, it will allow our algorithm to categorize your campaign with others with similar KPIs. This is just a thin layer to the algorithm overall, and it's going to be just especially helpful to give a boost if you have a specific KPI. Regarding the time frame, you have start and end dates. You can choose specifically when exactly you want the campaign to run. Good examples of use of this item here would be Black Friday and the week surrounding Thanksgiving in the US. It's a great time for very specific advertisements, but those campaigns are usually short bursts. And then lastly, consider a campaign schedule. You default to run 24/7, but for those of you focused on e-commerce, driving sales, picking up leads, you may consider only running your campaign during specific days and specific hours of the day to make sure that you're not paying for clicks that aren't ultimately going to turn into the conversions you need. If you continue along on this page, you'll get to the campaign targeting section with several tools available to you. First off, we have the location targeting. Now you'll notice up here, the options are blank, but the moment you decide to add a country to the location targeting, you will be given the option to further break that down and target by region or state, by DMA or designated marketing area. And we can even get as granular as postal or zip code targeting. Secondary, we have platform targeting. You can choose to run to various types of platforms here. Now, as a best practice, we will recommend that you separate your campaigns out by platform, or at the very least, run to only one platform at a time. And the primary reason behind this is because platforms will bid differently. In many cases, smartphone will get away with about half the bidding cost of desktop. And so if you choose to run them together, smartphone's going to take over a lot of that traffic, and it could look like desktop is underperforming, when in reality, it might just be losing out to mobile and you're not getting the best results. We're going to look at these other three on the next page. Next tool we have is operating system targeting. This allows you to target, exactly as it says, operating systems within specific devices. For mobile devices, we can look at iOS or Android platforms. And then for desktop or laptops, we can look at Mac OS X, Linux, and Windows. Once you've selected the operating system family, we can then go into subcategory. So for example, if you want to run a campaign that targets iOS 11 and not iOS 10, we have that functionality. This is best used for any type of campaign that has a strong or robust mobile strategy, but it's also really great for app download campaigns. You can learn more about our app download and S2S tracking from our Advertiser Help Center. And then we get to our audience targeting. There's several features here that can be of great use to you, starting first with the campaign clickers. Campaign clickers allows you to target users that have clicked on a previous Taboola campaign. Now, this is beneficial especially for earned media or any type of PR for when you can't place a pixel on the landing pages. For example, Amazon sales pages. In the example of listed here, book reviews mobile might be a campaign driving directly to a Business Insider article. You want users that have read that article to now be served ads to your homepage, and this is how you would do so. Custom audiences. This is how we utilize the audience we previously discussed with the Taboola Pixel. Essentially, you've built the audience, you've identified exactly where that user is being picked up, and now we want to create that retargeting campaign and take those users to another part of your conversion funnel. You would come to this tab and simply type in the name of the audience that you've created, and we will now just be segmenting to that specific pool of users. And then lastly, one of our most successful additions in the last year has been the increase of audience segments. We utilize third-party data to provide various types of user-based targeting here. We offer a wide range of audience segments that help you narrow the focus, and you can go broad, something like gender or age-based targeting. We can also get very, very narrow, looking at something like chocolate lovers or those who might have recently purchased AAA insurance. And then there is a slew of segments in between that help you gauge by user interest, position in a company, overall income level, number of children. Ultimately, you can find options simply by typing in a keyword. You'll see plenty of options available to you. Now, a few things to note when utilizing audience segments. First off, there are thousands of them, and many of the providers that we work with run similar segments. If you are not sure which segment is best to you, it is best to leave the audience line on none. What this is going to do is going to leave you network-wide, and we will give you wide open insights as to which audience segments are performing for you, exactly how your spend looks like in front of them, so you can decide later if it's worth targeting those segments or not. On another level, you can add multiple segments per campaign. They are layered with an or statement, so each time you add a segment, your audience pool will grow. Keep in mind that regardless, when you apply an audience segment, it is still more narrow than our entire run of network. And so you will have to increase your CPCs as a result. We recommend starting with a 20 to 30% increase, but ultimately that's dependent on the number of segments you choose, the overall size of those segments, and how the engagement is looking. So as I mentioned briefly earlier, before you choose data segments, we do recommend running a run of network campaign for at least 2 weeks to identify some of the best segments to choose. Also beware layering on too many targets, as it could shrink your audience too much. For example, if you decide to target just the state of New York, and then you look at one data segment, get to a narrow operating system, and are only targeting one platform, you are looking at a very small pool of users, and it could cause performance issues. And when you do reduce these audience sizes, ultimately increase those CPCs, you want to remain competitive. And what we'll look at in just a moment here is your campaign summary, and we'll show you all those useful insights and basically can help you decide what targeting to apply. Next, we get to one of the trickier elements, and that's deciding on what bid and budget to set for your campaign. Now, your bid is where your spending power comes from. This bid is going to be used to compete against others in the same category as you for space in our widgets or feeds. If you want to take over better placement or stand out more, increase your CPCs. If you're tracking conversions, it is always a good idea to enter a CPA goal so that we can have a target to focus on. While this is optional, the best strategists use a CPA goal to focus on where performance is best, and they can ultimately refine their targeting as a result. Next, we get to the spending limit. Your spending limit is the maximum price you will pay over the lifetime of the campaign. When you choose the entire campaign setting, your campaign will stop running either when we hit your budget cap or when we hit the end date of your campaign, whichever occurs first. With monthly flight, your campaign runs across the calendar month and will reset on the first of every month. So be mindful there that if you do not want your campaign to continue month over month, switch it to entire campaign. With monthly flight, we treat that as a monthly budget that you want to continue utilizing month over month. The first of the month is when it will reset. When we look at your daily ad delivery, this is how we allocate the spend that you've decided to put on this particular campaign. Balanced means that we will attempt to split the budget evenly across the days or hours of your campaign with a buffer of up to 2 times the daily spend to account for click searches. Accelerated means that we're going to spend the budget as fast as the clicks will come in. And then strict will allow you to set a specific daily cap of spend. Now note that there is still a buffer of up to 1.25 times the daily spend to account for click surges. For example, if you have a daily cap of $10, we may go up to $12.50 in a day, but we will never exceed the overall spending limit for your campaign. And then we get to the creative traffic allocation. Your creatives will default to run to the best performers. We optimize towards the campaign ads that have the highest click-through rate. But of course, you can change that and spread that to test them evenly instead. This, instead of driving to the best click-through rate, will publish all of your ads equally, and then you can manually decide to pause out or resume any creatives at your discretion. A quick note about even traffic allocation. This should only be used when you are starting a new campaign. If you switch an existing campaign from optimized to even, the system will reel and it will drop your traffic. Additionally, when the campaign runs on even for a while, it may switch back to optimized to continue improving your performance if we see large discrepancies. Next, we get into the tracking parameters section of your campaign properties. Feel free to consult the Help Center and type in UTM to find any additional macros you can include to pull more data into your Google Analytics. But note that this tracking code will append to all of the creatives in your campaign. As a default, we display information in Google Analytics that come as a Taboola referral. We also have more macros that you can find in our Help Center to pull back information like by site or by creative. And this will all help you identify post-click metrics that we might not have readily available on our side of things. Once you are ready, you'll be given the option to hit continue at the bottom of the page. You will get a quick review, and then you will move on to the campaign inventory, also known as the advertisements that you're going to run. To start, you're given to enter your URLs. Now you can enter one, or you can enter multiple separated by a line here. Once you click add, the ads will be generated and they will show below. As a default, we will crawl your website for a headline and thumbnail. So again, you can edit those thumbnails and headlines by clicking on them. You'll get these yellow boxes that appear and you can simply just type in or replace exactly what was in there previously. If you're having trouble searching for images, I would also encourage you to keep an eye on the image library tab. The image library tab is completely free for you to use, and this is powered by our relationship with Getty Images. Now, we may pre-select some keywords here based on what we've crawled from your website, but of course you can replace those with anything you're looking for. These images give you a really great opportunity to add some more color to your photos or add some diversity of imagery if you can't readily pull them together. And then completing your campaign setup here, you'll now see on this particular page what it might look like when the new headlines and new thumbnails have been entered. You can click out to the landing page URL to gauge the effectiveness. A quick side note, if you are using tracking links by providers like Volume, you can use those as your landing page URL. Just double check using this tool here that the link is actually clicking out properly. You can also look at these various columns here. It'll just organize all of your material. And then once you're ready to really go, you hit finish. Now keep in mind, one last note on this page, you see the status over here will say pending. Once your campaigns have been submitted, they will enter a manual review process by our content review team. This process can typically take between 1 and 3 business days, most closely to 1. But of course, if you are looking on a short time crunch, you want to make sure you get your assets uploaded as early as you possibly can. Once the campaign goes live, we are ready to start tracking your performance. So item 3 on the left-hand side of your dashboard here revolves around your top campaign content. We've broken out a separate page for you to look at all of your particular creatives on a single page. Note that you can sort by various campaigns, and you can also pause out any creatives at any given time. For those of you that are electing to start with an even traffic allocation, you will definitely want to utilize this page to pause out any creatives that are underperforming compared to the other ones. Once you're happy with what you find in the top campaign content, you can then go to the campaign summary. Now, the campaign summary is where all of your insights are ultimately going to live. First, you can sort by date. You can choose various ranges. We also have some pre-selected date ranges like this and last month, last year, and it will make it a little bit easier for you to just organize where you're viewing material from. On the right-hand side, you can choose other layers to put on the graph. We'll default to show you the clicks and the spend, but you can also see different trends if you want to layer over material. The tabs along the top of the graph will allow you to change exactly how you view the material. You can create layers by using the Add Filter button just above. Now, this is a big note. A lot of the times you will want to make sure that you are looking on a campaign by campaign basis. And I suggest this because a few more tools become available to you once you have selected a specific campaign, as opposed to using all campaigns. And then also a new feature here, there is a columns tab on the top right of the table of data. What you will find here are the different conversions that you might have identified. So in this particular case, the client has decided to layer on several conversions. We are only looking at an overall CPA at the moment, but you can choose to look at your graph at in any manner that you would like. Now, we get to the By Site tab. I'm going to look at 2 tabs here, By Site and By Audience. The other ones are great resources for deciding how your campaign properties are behaving, but the By Site and By Audience tab give you a couple unique tools that are going to be really beneficial for you optimizing your campaign. First, we have the breakdown of your site information right here in the middle, and the graphical breakout below, the table breakout below, sorry. On the right-hand side, you will notice a series of 10% icons and a red circle button. These will allow you to adjust your bid on a by site basis, and you can also block out sites that are not meeting your performance goals. So for example, if you have a goal of a $10 CPA and a site is driving a $5 CPA, meaning we are well under your goal, it's a good sign. We would now want to start boosting your bid by 10% increments to take over more volume on that placement. If with that $10 CPA goal, you see a site has a $15 CPA coming in, start lowering that bid by 10% increments. It means we'll devote less spend to that particular location and hopefully drive down the CPA as a result. And then lastly, that red circle will allow you to strictly block out the site if it's just completely not meeting your goals. Be especially cautious here, and again, I will refer to the campaign select at the top corner. If you were looking at the By Site tab while also looking at all campaigns, you will not see the 10%. And if you utilize the red circle, it's going to block that publisher from your current and all future campaigns as well. From the By Site tab, we're going to now go take a look at the By Audience tab here with several features available. Again, we looked at these previously with the custom or the audience segments tool in the campaign properties. If you choose to run to none, you will see very specifically your performance across all different audiences that are available on our network. You have not spent anything yet to these particular sites, but you will be able to determine whether or not it's the right choice for you to target those particular segments. Down here in the bottom left, you will notice that with the table here, you'll see a series of white boxes. This makes it a little bit easier for you to create duplicate campaigns. Say this campaign is doing well and you want to layer on that Taboola segment here right at the top. You select it with the white box on the left side and click duplicate using audiences, and we have simply copied that particular campaign and we've just layered on the new data segment. Now, in summary here, a couple major tools that you need to consider when building your first campaigns and really accessing your account. Place that pixel. That pixel is really going to help identify where your users are going. At the start, we will give you information on clicks and can give you great insights into how you're driving website traffic. But that pixel will give us more to work with down the line. More creatives means more to test. If you only run 1 to 3 creatives in a campaign, we may not be optimizing towards the best performer, or you might be missing out on the opportunity to test some new headlines or thumbnails that you might be curious about. Not sure what targeting to apply? Start with a run of network. We try to be as transparent as possible. We will give you data up front. Of course, if you have any questions or concerns and you're not sure exactly which direction to go in, you always have support at support@taboola.com. You have a lot of targeting options available to you, so beware of going too narrow. It can be really exciting to play around with the different types of options we have. You know, you want to test operating systems, you want to really call out specific users and their audiences. But note that if you layer on too many targets, you're going to be missing out on a big chunk of audience that really wants to engage with your content. And lastly, your performance will change through time. We encourage you to be in your platform every few days or so, playing around with those CPCs. If you see a dip in any performance, maybe you boost those CPCs to take over more volume. You see CPAs go up, maybe that means it's time to test some new creatives. Ultimately, consumers are constantly moving around the internet in different fashion, and we're giving you as many insights as you can to catch them ahead of the game. And if that's all, I mean, at this time, we'll leave it up to questions here. I have my colleague Sarah here to help me parse through what is being submitted. And so we will try and get to you as many of these as we can. Please note that if we don't get to your question today, or if it's not specifically related to account setup or optimizing a campaign, I'd refer you to email support@taboola.com or check out our advertiser help center.
Thanks, Rob. So the first question we have here is, are we able to archive or delete campaigns within the account?
At the moment, no, we are not able to archive or delete campaigns. You can use the filters in the top left corner to sort by specific or running campaigns to make it a bit easier. However, keep in mind that we do expect this type of tool to be readily available in the coming months, as we are working on a wonderful redesign that you're going to be excited about.
I think you mentioned you could leave the audience segments section blank, but there would be reporting available within the UI. Where can I find this audience segment reporting within Backstage?
Sure. So we looked at it towards the end of this presentation. While your campaign properties can help you select specific segments, if you leave it on none, you will get those insights in your campaign summary on the By Audience tab.
How will I know if my CPC bid is competitive, especially early on in the testing stage?
Sure, that's a great question. One great tool to let you know if your CPC is effective enough is to take a look at the overall volume of traffic you're getting and how that equates to the spend that you've allocated. For example, if you've allocated $50 a day in spend and you're only hitting about $30 a day, that's telling you that your CPC is too low, that you're not being competitive enough, and your widget or your ad is not showing high enough on a particular page. And so you would increase that particular CPC to try and garner that traffic. Another great tool you can tell is by site information. If you are looking through various websites, we have a lot of great placements across the open web and various types of placements. If your CPC is really competitive and is doing well, you're going to see a lot of recognizable names come up that you can attach to. And if your CPC is too low, you may see a lot of names that you might not recognize so much. Still excellent placements, and you can certainly see by going to the Buy Site tab what those placements would look like. But that is also a great tool to let you know. I would say start first with the overall cost element, though. If we're not utilizing your budget fully, then we might need to increase those CPCs. If your CPA is not in the right place, maybe you need to increase those CPCs to get more to the premium users who are going to engage with that content.
In terms of targeting, how can I apply third-party targeting to a campaign?
Certainly. So for third-party targeting, the first option is to go through and search by keyword within the campaign properties. Just simply type on audience segments and type in whatever keyword you're looking for. The list of available segments will be there for you to simply just click and apply to those settings. Moreover, you can go to the campaign summary, take a look at the By Audience tab, and then there will be those white boxes I showed you towards the end of this presentation that will allow you to duplicate the existing campaign with the layered segments on top. Of course, if you have any trouble finding them, you can always ask support at taboola.com and they can give you references to where to find those tools as well.
Do you need to bid differently if you're running a campaign with that additional targeting?
Yes, so the ultimate consideration when it's about changing your particular bid, you really want to consider the audience size. That's the real breakdown of it. A CPC is here to give you competition. And when you have, say, let's just use the US as an example, we're targeting nationwide, we have everyone in the pool. It means that the supply is very great. It means that you don't have to bid as high to achieve that user base. As you shrink your audience, you have to get a louder voice to maintain the number of clicks that you're looking for. And so you have to increase your bid as a result to make sure that you are targeting those users properly. Typically, when it comes to audience segments, depending on how many you add, we recommend starting with an uplift of around 20 to 30% in your CPC bid, with room to change that as you see the traffic come in.
Thank you. After a campaign is created, how can I add more content?
Excellent. So some things to consider here. First off, to add more content, you would go to the campaign management page. Now, I mentioned that there were those 4 icons to the far right of any campaign that you create. The third icon in that looks like a list, that will take you to your campaign inventory, the existing ads. You can feel free to simply add more URLs to the provided box. And as you create them, they're going to go to our campaign review and we will get those live. One thing to be cautious of is that if your campaign has currently had learnings for quite a while, it might be worth pausing out the original creatives to add the new ones. For example, I have worked with a client before who ran a campaign for an entire year. After about 8 months, they decided to change the creatives or add some new ones rather. And at first, it got a slow start, but then we had to pause the original creatives to give space to the newer ones to show up. And that's again because the campaign had already been running for quite a long time and had already garnered enough learnings that it found its sweet spot.
Thank you. And we're coming up to the last question for today, which is related to policy. Is there somewhere where I can get more specific feedback on why my campaigns are being rejected from the policy team?
Absolutely. So on one element, we have our Advertiser Help Center, which lays out clearly our restricted, our prohibited policy guidelines. We have pages to educate you on landing page practices, headline and thumbnail issues. And then additionally, if you email support@taboola.com, you're still not entirely sure why it might be shut down or rejected, they would be able to give you a little bit more information. Keep in mind that we do have to work pretty nicely with our publisher relationships, and that does mean that certain racy content may not be allowed and other type of content that doesn't necessarily meet the same requirements by what you might see on Facebook or Google, just because we have an open web focus. So while it is not always shared immediately in the email, it is fully broken out in our Advertiser Help Center, and our support team can definitely answer more questions for you. All right, so it seems like that is the last of our questions here. I want to take some time to thank everyone for joining in on this particular webinar. You will also receive recordings shortly after this call with what we've spoken about. Again, you have support at Taboola.com and our advertiser help center to help you out. And if you'd like to join again, keep an eye out for more webinars coming out in the future as we continue to grow our platform. And aside from that, thanks everyone. We hope you have a wonderful day.